This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Tom Murphy, who now joins us, is going to be out there at practice watching the guys in full pads. Tom, you've done these for a number of years now. What is the main difference you've seen when they transition from just kind of shoulder pads, shorts, and T-shirts to that first full day of pads in fall camp?
Morning, Ty and Tommy, Chuck. I think Sam has instituted a level of practicing that brings physicality even to the spider pads and then even to just shoulder pads and shorts. I mean, they're colliding, the linemen. But, yeah, you can feel it. The thud seems to pick up just a little bit more when it's full pads. They're not going to tackle to the ground a whole lot. But the older I get, the more I'm just like, oh, man, nobody get hurt. Nobody get hurt. And I would say that if I was covering any team in the country's practice. But football is just so physical, and when you got 300-pound, 300-pound offensive linemen hitting on 3 or 4 300-pound defensive linemen, and then backs are trying to squeeze through there, and linebackers are filling the gaps, there's just going to be collisions and guys falling down and all that. But to answer your question, I just think it's going to be spirited because they demand that running on and off the field. Guys run into the ball. I mean, you heard Dwight McLaughlin echo what coaches tell players all the time. What he wants to get better at is when he's away from the play that he runs over and gets involved in the tackle. You never know when your hustle can result in a prevention of a touchdown or something. So if you got all 11 guys on defense doing that, everybody hustling, that improves the spirit of your practice.
You kind of alluded to something there. Pittman's talked about the physicality and the up in that all offseason, spring, fall, and that's just something they've had a focus on really since the end of that Missouri game. How do you couple that with not suffering the injury bug? I mean, that's got to be the back of his mind. It's like we got to be physical leading up to the season, but we can't have the same decimating injuries we had last year.
Right. Well, you can't predict them. You do have to go physical. So really, you do hear coaches all the time, stay up, because such a percentage of injuries happen when some lineman gets off balance, it gets pushed down and falls on someone else's leg or rolls somebody up. And it's going to happen basically in every camp across the country. You just hope that a guy gets a sprain instead of a torn ligament, that kind of thing. But you just stay up. You take care of your teammates the best you can, and you don't whack a guy on the sideline. I mean, a few years ago, I think Catalon hurt himself hitting somebody really hard on the sideline. That's the play. Well, it wasn't that play, but he knocked over that fast running back, and the guy's cleat went up and hit Urachek on the nose. If y'all remember that play, it was a little bit too hard of a hit on the sideline by Catalan, and you just have to be smart about things like that.
Tom, we've been given a peek of practice. You've gotten to see like 20 minutes. Saturday they have the first scrimmage. It's completely closed. We'll hear from Sam Pittman and a couple players afterwards. How do you balance that out when you write your report for Sunday's paper? How do you figure out what to report when you don't get to see?
Yeah, those are tough. I mean, we try to ask them, who scored touchdowns? What did you do in the red zone? That kind of thing. Who ran the ball well? And you're just relying on what they say. And then, maybe a report or two will bleed out here and there. But it's always a tough thing. If the offense doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, well, hey, that's great. Your defense played better. And vice versa. If you tear them up, then you start worrying about the defense. So you just want guys on both sides to be making plays. You want people to stay healthy. And after watching the 2-on-2 the other day, when the defense, really kind of ruled the day on it was in the red zone, you want to see a bounce back. And Kenny Guyton and the receivers we talked to, who were Armstrong and Satania, said that the offense did bounce back. They did perform well in the 2 minutes. So I don't know. It's just a standard thing across the country. How do you balance out good things on one side of the ball versus bad things on the other?
Tom Murphy with us on the McClarty-Daniel Hotline. The coaches poll came out earlier this week. Now, you vote in the AP poll. How much do you lean or use that as a guidepost when you put your first ballot together?
Well, we had to have ours submitted about close to 8 or 9 days ago.
Okay.
So we voted before the coaches came out.
All right.
Our polls were supposed to be in, but I don't think the polls are going to be vastly different. And, I think if people are honest with each other, they look at the other poll, and if somebody has Penn State down around 10 or 11 and the coaches have them at 5, then I think, the AP voters will go, what do the coaches know? And pay more attention, and, if Penn State gets a big win, things tend to level out. There's always going to be a few outlier schools and voters. I think there's some AP voters who love the criticisms and people calling them out, because there's a few across the country year after year who have outlier schools, and they'll vote somebody way up that everybody else has down and things like that.
So, Tom, the question I would pose off that, if AP voters are potentially taking stock in the coaches having teams certain places, should Arkansas fans take any stock in the fact that they weren't in the coaches' top 25?
Well, if you mean that they won't be in the AP poll, probably so. There's a few voters across the country you see who really, they like Sam Pittman. They like what he's done. The fact that K.J. Jefferson and Rocket Sanders make a great 1-2, with a decent number of returning starters up front, that they might consider Arkansas. I certainly considered Arkansas, and when the poll comes out, if you want to ask me on Tuesday, I'll tell you what I did. But there's going to be a goodly number of SEC teams. LSU and Georgia and Alabama will probably be all top 5, 6, 7. And then you're going to see Tennessee probably, the lingering effects from last year in the poll. And Texas A&M, I believe, was 25. And they have a chance, I would think, to be in the AP poll as well.
With LSU, Tommy and I voted them in the West to win at SEC Media Days. Are we and so many others putting too much faith into Brian Kelly in year 2? Because some people think they're very overrated heading into this year.
Well, everybody's opinion is fair play right now before there's been one game. I voted for LSU number 1 in the West as well. They have a returning quarterback in Jaden Daniels. When you look at their skill players, they're loaded at receiver. They get the D tackle back, who is a difference maker to pair with I think it's Wingo.
Makai Wingo, yeah.
Up front. And so their D tackles are going to be legit. They're going to have speed and all that in the secondary. And if Brian Kelly led them to the SEC championship game in his first year, why couldn't he do it in his second year? I mean, I'm not putting the Brian Kelly component to this. Is he's a really good coach. He has great talent. They overcame a loss to Florida State that could have set some teams back and got better and better. Now, they had some eye-opening losses. The Tennessee loss was, wow, how did that happen? And then they lost at the end to A&M. So they're capable of basically laying an egg. But they got up, and they beat Bama. They survived this game in Arkansas with, cold weather conditions, out of their element. KJ is out of the game, and they just had a really good defensive game plan, and they won this game. But Alabama will probably be very much gunning to get back to the top and beating LSU. But I thought with the amount of returning talent they had, and I don't see that Brian Kelly is a step down from a top-tier coach, that they should compete.
Tom Murphy with us on the McClarty-Daniel Hotline. All right, so you got the scrimmage this weekend. You got one the following weekend. What are you expecting or wanting to see out of camp over these next couple of weeks as they move closer to what will be game prep week coming up in about 10 days?
Well, this is probably right out of the Sam Pittman playbook. Stay healthy. That's number 1, man. Keep all your key dudes healthy. And then just, make sure you determine your cover corners. And then he's hinted at this, and so did Darren Wilson, who possibly could move over to the nickel. Jalen Lewis is your starting nickel right now. He's a redshirt freshman. We've seen him make some plays out here. And just like any corner or cover guy, make plays, give up plays. But do they want a more veteran guy? So I think they would love to see Snacks Johnson move over to nickel if they can do it. but that would mean Jaheim Singletary or Jalen Braxton, wins a starting job at the other corner. You want to see the offensive tackles continue to get better and, show the physicality and the pass blocking agility you need. I would say those are the primary things. Find your corners and then your nickel, get better at safety, and make sure those offensive tackles are playing the way you want.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.